Right, let's talk about Conor McGregor. We gotta do it. The dirtbag himself. Or is he? Now guys, usually I like to joke around in my videos, and I'll be honest, it was incredibly tempting to joke around in this video, but because there's a lot of uncertainty going around about this case, I just don't think it's appropriate. And also, quick disclaimer, I'm not a journalist, and I haven't put hours and hours and hours of research into this case. I haven't even been keeping up with it, but what we will do in this video is take a look at some clips, look at the overview, and I'm going to give my opinion on this whole situation.
A jury in a civil trial in Ireland has found that the mixed martial arts star Conor McGregor raped a woman in a Dublin hotel in 2018.
One of Ireland's biggest stars sitting there with his head in his hands as the decision of the jury was read out to this court after 8 days of evidence centering around the events of a Christmas night out back in December of 2018, centering on a Dublin hotel, centering on what the Conor McGregor described as consensual sex between him, a woman, and his friend James Lawrence. The woman's version of events was very, very different. And I think we can now see what's about to happen here. Here comes Conor McGregor. Let's go and see if we can have a chat with him here. Mr. McGregor, you're pissed. What do you think?
What do you have to say? Say sorry for what has happened.
Do you have any reaction or apology to the women at the centre of this? Do you have a reaction?
No, come on.
Do you have an apology to the women at the centre of this? Well, there we have no comment from Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor suggesting that it was consensual sex. Well, the court here heard a very different story, evidence that it was a brutal. The woman, to quote, was battered. It was a savage attack, and his legal team, her legal team, branded Conor McGregor a devious coward, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And essentially, the burden of proof in this case was lower. It must have been proved on the balance of probability rather than beyond reasonable doubt. That would be the case in a criminal trial. And the jurors essentially had to answer two very, very simple questions. Did Mr. McGregor assault the woman in question? And the simple answer to that from the jury was yes. This is a man who leaves this court tonight not only being tarred with the tag of being a rapist in the eyes of a civil court here in Ireland, but clearly this is a sports star whose reputation is now completely in tatters.
I want to thank my mum and all my family and friends. Lastly, I want to thank my daughter Freya, who I'm most grateful for. She has given me so much strength and courage over the last 6 years throughout this nightmare to keep on pushing forward for justice. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Right, there you have it. First off, that reporter just coming straight out the gate and saying, Conor, you're a rapist. What do you think about that? Honestly, I'm surprised this isn't the BBC, to be honest. And that was also an incredibly one-sided story, which I'm surprised because Sky News Australia, it's not that lefty. So there's a few details about this trial. So Conor is being found liable after being accused of sexual assault. I don't want to say guilty because I don't want to get sued. And also Sky News, they're talking about the evidence, the mounds of evidence. Guys, there's not a lot of evidence, and I'll talk about that in a moment. First off, this Nikita Hand, she didn't push for a criminal case because when she went to the police said there wasn't enough evidence. So instead, they had to opt for a civil case. Now, the difference between these is when you go to a criminal court, if there's any reasonable doubt, then you cannot be found guilty whatsoever. So all of the jury must agree on your guilty status. If there's even one jury member who disagrees, then it goes to a hung jury, I think, and then they've got to get a new jury in until it is completely unanimous. And if you're found guilty within a criminal case, then you go into jail. A lot of people are saying, why isn't Conor going to jail? Well, because it wasn't in criminal court. This took place in a civil court, which is all about who do we believe the most. And look, I'm going to try and not be biased here, but the stats show the courts favour women a lot of the time. Whether it's jail sentences for the same crimes, whether it's divorce courts, civil courts, these courts often favour the woman's story over the man's. Let's just put that out there. Am I saying she's a liar? No. Am I victim blaming? No. However, there are countless examples of women putting in false grape allegations. So if you lose your case in civil court, you basically have to pay damages to the party, and that's what McGregor had to do. Sky News said 180,000, but I've seen elsewhere that it was 250,000. Now, apparently they were trying to settle this a long time ago. I think they offered her £1 million, and she said no. She turned it down. She wanted to take it to court instead, which definitely looks favourable in her eyes, because if she would have just took the money, it's like, oh, she was just doing it for the money. She was just trying to get a quick buck out of McGregor. However, she actually went through with going to court, so I mean, that kind of favours it a little bit, does make her seem a bit more innocent. Now, one key detail that I don't like is the jury bench was apparently 70% female. Really, it should be 50-50, 50% male, 50% women, because women, being a little bit more empathetic, will always side with the woman, and all it takes is a woman to stand there in court, put the tears on, shake the paper a little bit, and all of a sudden, everyone's in a pocket. I'm not saying that's the case here, I'm just saying that happens. So basically what's happened here is she's won the case based on her word. It's basically just believe all women. Remember that narrative? Believe all women. No, women lie. Men lie. McGregor has given a completely different version of events than she's give. So who's right? Now, they can prove that he's had sex with her, but they can't prove that it's grape. And as far as I'm aware, the only real solid evidence that she had was the bruises on her body, which Conor said that she probably got when she swan dove into the bath, and the fact that it was rough sex. Bruises happen, but let's not pretend the bruises can't be done yourself after the has already happened. She could have went home and squeezed her arm or punched herself or whatever. Once again, not saying she did, I'm just giving two sides of the story. Now, if you want the full story, I'll leave a couple links to some articles down below, and they go into great detail about all the version of events. I'll be honest, I haven't even read all of this. I've kind of skimmed through the main nuggets, but Conor's version of events and her version of events are completely different. First off, she chose to go back to the hotel with them. She was on cocaine. She was bladdered, as was McGregor as well. This is what McGregor said. He said, your client is full of lies. Everything is a lie. He had fully consensual sex with Miss Hand. He said there was not an iota of distress. It was all happy, fun. It was energetic. She said she was on a period. He said that he did not see any blood and would not have had sex if he had. She claimed she had a tampon in. McGregor said there was no sign of a tampon. It wasn't there when I was there. So did she take it out? Did he just stuff it up inside her even more? Sorry guys, that's extremely gruesome. The tampon must have been introduced after he had sex with Miss Hand. McGregor said that he couldn't recall where he dropped his mate off, which goes to show how flying everyone was. So she was messaging him all night, clearly interested. Why are you messaging McGregor constantly? She was asking McGregor to come and meet her. He picked them up and he said, when he pulled up outside of Nikita's salon, he said they came out in a blink of an eye. When Nikita got into the car, she was very bombastic and energetic. So anyway, they get back to the room. McGregor said the party was in full swing. Myself and Nikita were getting close. We were kissing, touching. In the suite, he said he went into the bathroom and Nikita followed him in. Now, there's no foul play in this story so far. This is just like a regular male-female interaction. Bit of flirtiness, bit of texting, bit of banter, bit of drinking drugs. Conor McGregor came out of the bathroom. They began kissing more passionately, and it took off from there. He said she performed all the on him while they were both clothed. He said that they started having in the missionary position. McGregor said the sex was enthusiastic and athletic. I love that, athletic. Really? Athletic from this girl? Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I had to make one little joke, but come on. What's your definition of athletic, Conor? And also, what are you doing? Even if this was fully consensual sex, you're risking it all for this. It's no dig at here. But you can't even argue the fact, oh, well, do you know what? It was a supermodel. She was proper fit. She was a baddie. No. It wasn't even worth it. So he said he fell asleep and he was woken up by Miss Hand and Mr. Lawrence, each holding one of his legs up, obviously to just restore some blood and oxygen back to his brain. He said he eventually came to and that Miss Hand propositioned him again, began to perform oral sex on him again, and they began to have sex again with her on top of him. He believed he was in the hotel for about 6 hours and he left an hour after he had sex the second time with her, meaning that she was in the hotel room for at least 5 hours. He said that Miss Hand was urging him and the others to stay, but he had nothing left and he decided he was going. And then when these allegations came to, McGregor wasn't asked for his phone and he was upset because he wanted to give every shred of evidence that there was. And he was asked if he was to give his phone now for evidence. He said he's happy to do so, but it's not the same because because he's deleted messages. He said he wanted to give every shred of evidence to be put before the court, including evidence of your client frolicking in a taxi and sucking D. And she gave a phone in as well, but there was also deleted messages. And blah, blah, blah. That leads us to now. But with regards to evidence, there's nothing really, like, super solid. It's basically just her word over his. So, I mean, how do you interpret that? Do I think McGregor graped her? I don't know. I mean, probably not full-on grape, but I do believe that they were both heavily intoxicated. He's probably went a little bit crazy. She said she was loving it at the time, and then she's woke up the next day. She had a boyfriend, by the way. She's regretted it. What's the easy thing to do? Say, oh, it was grape. Once again, I'm not saying that's the reality. I'm just saying that happens sometimes. In fact, I recently heard of a lad claiming to have consensual sex with a girl. Turns out she had a boyfriend. She regretted it the next day. Next thing, the police are turning up at his door, and it didn't go good for him. There's loads of other details about this case. She also said that McGregor put it in a chokehold and said, now you know how I feel after getting tapped out 3 times in the octagon. I mean, can you imagine McGregor saying something like that? With McGregor's ego, I can't imagine him even confronting the reality that he's being tapped out. A lot of the details are murky. However, my personal opinion, do I think McGregor is a dirtbag? Yeah, he's got a wife and kids, and he's doing this, and I guarantee this probably isn't even the first time. Don't even be surprised if you get more women coming forwards now, thinking that they can cash in. Unfortunately, the only 2 people who really know what went down on this night was McGregor and this bird. But McGregor needs to seriously sort it out. We hear of football players doing stuff like this as well. They've got a fit supermodel bird at home, got a great life, family, all the money in the world, and then they get with a proper ugly bird and destroy their lives. So with all the evidence presented in front of me, do I think McGregor went through with some grape juice? Well, because there's not enough evidence, I don't know. But as I say, he is a bit of a dirtbag. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of this entire situation? As I say, I'm no journalist. I was just researching on the fly. But if you guys have got other pieces of evidence that I've missed, that is not just Nikita said this. No, actual hard evidence that this wasn't consensual sex and was actually GRAPE, then comment down below. Drop a like on this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.